Two. What's good, y'all? Welcome into
Shit.
Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford, and it's been a minute. It's been a very long time since we got behind the microphone. A lot has happened over the course of the past, week and a half, 2 weeks. There was All-Star weekend. Danny and I linked up for the trading deadline special over on Stadium Network. It was a lot going on, but before we get into all those things, I want to let you guys know you can find us on Instagram at Inside Green Room and on Twitter at Green Room Inside. We ask that you subscribe, rate, and review, especially as we have now moved on to our new partners, Odyssey. So make sure you guys check in with us on a weekly basis. We'll be keeping the pod going thanks to our partners at Odyssey, and looking forward to seeing how this partnership will grow over the course of time. And part of that Odyssey partnership is one Danny Green making calls in to various radio stations across the country talking about a number of teams. And he made some comments about Klay Thompson that caught the internet's attention. We'll get to that in a moment. A lot has been going on. But first and foremost, let's just get an update from my homie. Danny, how's it been, my friend?
It's been all right, man. I can't, it has been a minute. Can't complain, man. Things are going well. The little one's growing. Obviously miss hooping. Can't act like I don't. I can't lie. Watching it, it's back. Obviously, All-Star Weekend, I really don't care about too much or watching it. But when basketball's not around, you miss it. When it is around, you miss it when you're not a part of it. So I do miss hooping, but I'm enjoying being with my little one and just working out right now and just staying ready for when the team calls a vet, And
Yeah,
what's going on with you, brother? What's going on with you? What's new?
For sure. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. And obviously, we're always optimistic about that, especially as playoff time nears. And for me, it's been busy, bro. You guys might have not seen it, but Danny and I did a show on Stadium Network. What was that? February 8th, the NBA trading deadline. A lot of fun. So I've seen Danny recently in Chicago. We haven't done the pod in a while. Before I was in Chicago, Danny, I was in St. Lucia, which was like a week or a couple of days before I was in Guatemala City with the homies. So
boy, living it up.
There's been a lot going on. And I tell you, here's the problem now, Danny. Here's the problem. Now that I've come back to New York to work, I ain't gonna hold you. Brother don't feel like working. It's hard. Especially when there was no basketball. I was like,
yeah, man. Just imagine you used to moving around your whole life. You traveling the last couple of months, and now you got to sit in one spot. Imagine doing that for 20 years of your life, and now you're just sitting around in one spot. It can get you. It's a weird adjustment.
Weird adjustment for sure. And it did, and obviously it didn't help that there was no basketball. Like I come back to no basketball. What am I supposed to watch? I finished Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon Prime like this. I was looking for things to do. I know
you and your damn snaps, bro. You cannot snap into the camera when you snap like that. So that's another thing. We gotta teach Harrison. At 37 years old, we got to teach him how to snap his fingers because he does not know snapping the right way. He snaps the other way.
No, there is no right way to snap. There is no right way to snap. There is only a right sound that you're supposed to produce when you snap.
You sound like a kindergarten teacher saying there's no dumb questions.
Hold on. Before we get to our basketball stuff, let me let the audience know this is how it sounds when I snap. That is a great snap. That is a prime snap, all-star Hall of Fame level snap. The problem is the result when I snap to get that sound is this, as opposed to
there are no dumb questions. There are no dumb questions out there. There's no right way to snap. Yeah, okay.
There's no right way to snap, bro. I'm supposed to produce the sound, and that's what I do.
Moving along.
I can't do that.
Moving along. No basketball's happening. You're back now. Basketball's back now. So let's talk some basketball.
Let's talk about basketball. Let's talk about All-Star Weekend. Not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you were there for briefly. I watched some of it briefly. There are some fixes that need to happen with the All-Star game. Real quick, what would you do to change everything that happened in Indianapolis going forward?
The dunk contest, I wouldn't do it unless you had some real candidates involved. That really just takes upon some young guys really want to go out there and say, you know what, let's make this a weekend. At least the competitions can be real because you could get hurt, but you're less likely to get hurt doing dunks and shooting 3-pointers, you know what I'm saying, or a skills challenge. More likely to get hurt in the game. So I understand why they're not playing in the game as hard. But, you know what I'm saying, all it takes is, guys to seriously talk about it, all-stars, and have a scrimmage before the game and like, let's really make a good second half, or let's play, the first quarter serious. to see what 400 points I think it was in
Yeah.
total be scored. Nobody cares to watch that, but it's a break. It's a break for them, or some people say canceling the All-Star game or adding more
I
to a
mean,
two-on-two
yeah, I mean,
tournament, a one-on-one
yeah.
tournament. There's a lot
Yes.
of things they're talking about adding. You can add some things, you subtract some things, but ultimately, you got to find a group that wants to turn it around, and that starts with the faces, the younger faces of the NBA right now.
Yeah, that starts with them, and it's going to be harder, obviously, because they grew up in a world where they knew each other from a very young age. Rivalries, as we used to know them, are going to be very hard to exist. With that being said, if I was to change All-Star Weekend, number one, we don't have to do the dunk competition no more. We really don't. I mean, I just don't know if you're ever going to see that innovative of a dunk, and if there is that one, if it doesn't come from an All-Star. Frankly, not a lot of people are going to care because all the dunks have been done before.
For sure. And I had this argument earlier. There are some creative ones, and it's not about the dunk. It's about who's dunking the ball and how high they're jumping, how impressive they do the dunk. You have a Ja Morant, who's a smaller guard that's doing these type of dunks. You're impressive in how high he jumps. You have Zion doing some of these dunks. You have Anthony Edwards doing some of these dunks. It's a lot more impressive coming from them. Blake wasn't the first person to jump over a car or jump over something. But when they see him do it, it's Blake Griffin. You know what I'm saying? Give him a Kia dealership. You give him a Kia sponsorship. So all it takes is for the right people to do the right dunks. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. So that would be my number one. And number two, and I don't understand all the hate people gave me for this or have towards this idea. Make the All-Star game East-West still, and then make home court advantage in the finals on the line.
I don't know if
you don't play. No, Danny. That is one way.
For sure, but some of those guys know they're not going to be in the finals, so they don't care.
So, then you don't play.
Two guys from each team.
They wasn't playing anyway. If put it like this, if you're in the Eastern Conference right now, right? Mm-hmm. How many All-Stars would have played hard if they knew they could have gotten home court advantage? Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton. That's already 5 guys right there off the top of
Tyrese Halliburton not make it to the finals. Giannis maybe.
No, but that's not. It's not if he will make the finals. But
Dame,
but if he was, Dame and Giannis. So that's 7. Just think about
it. They get home court in the finals. You said
yes.
So that's Tyrese Halliburton is not making the finals.
What about? Oh, my bad. Donovan Mitchell. So that's 8. That's 8 guys who would have said, "I feel like I can get to the finals, and if I get to the finals, I want the number 1 seed. I want home court advantage." So that's 8 guys on the team that would have balled hard.
No, Cleveland knows they're not making the finals this year.
Well, stop it. Stop
the Knicks, the Bucks.
They're not going to play.
The Knicks, the Bucks, and Philly. I don't see him putting his body on the line. Anybody from those teams that are not contenders. That's like saying New Orleans. Zion's in the All-Star game. He's going to put his body on the line. Zion's not going to do that. He knows he's not making the finals.
Hold on.
We got the Clippers and Denver out west. Maybe 2 other young teams with Minnesota and OKC, but they don't have a bunch of All-Stars. And then on the East, you have the Bucks and Boston, really.
Hold on.
Outside of that, and you got the young guys, Tyrese.
I'm sorry. I'm going over the roster. We were supposed to move faster, but you're not. I don't think you're validating my opinion here.
I validate some of those things.
Hold on. Giannis.
Donovan Mitchell is not going to.
Bam.
Okay.
Giannis, Bam.
Bam, no.
Damian Lillard.
Miami's not making the finals.
Jaylen Brown. Jalen Brunson. Tyrese Maxey. Donovan Mitchell.
No.
Was that 8? That's 8, right? Joe, my bad. Let's say if Julius Randle was playing because he was an All-Star, he would have played hard. Joel Embiid, if he was an All-Star and he was able to be there, he would have played hard.
No, absolutely not. I don't care what the circumstances. I don't think Joel is going to risk himself getting hurt to play an All-Star game, regardless if he's making home court. He will play. He might play. He might play at the end of the game. Like, all right, I need to score. We need to win. But some of the teams,
want. We want competitive pockets of a game.
Some of those teams are not making the finals, and they know that. The Cleveland Cavaliers, put up there making the finals, are not happening. I don't know who else you had on that list that you said would make the finals.
You're not being real. You're not being real, son. They would play hard, and if they dared not to play hard with home court advantage in the finals on the line, they would get eviscerated on social media. So you live with your lack of effort.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening, bro. I don't think that rule is going to change it. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. And I don't
It'll
think they care
definitely
that
do it. They
much.
too scared to do it. That's the problem.
The league, because there's no league that can't do that. You can't penalize one team
They
on
did
the
it. They
basis
did
of
it.
other
They
teams
did it in
doing.
Major League. They did it in Major League Baseball.
That's baseball. There's going to be a lot of.
I'm saying
There's going to be a
that
lot of.
would make them play hard because I'm not trying to watch that. Even though the ratings were up,
That's
I'm not
interesting.
trying to
I didn't
watch
know
that
that.
again. The ratings were
Nobody
the
is.
ratings went up. Nobody's trying
What
to
is
watch
it?
it. All right.
What is it when a team sends in a call and they try to what's the name of the game? Portland did it earlier in the year. Not early in the year. They did it recently. They tried to
What?
protest. They're gonna
Protest the game?
protest. They're gonna protest again. There's no team. If Denver says, "Oh, we have one All
Nah, they
Star, we
gotta
gotta
agree to
take
it.
we can't get home court, even though we're number one seed in the league. We
Too
are not."
bad.
Yeah, they're gonna protest that,
You
and
should
they're
have
gonna win.
you should have valued the All-Star game. As an NBA player, you've worked your whole life to be an All-Star. You've worked your whole life to be considered one of the top 24 players in the world. Why wouldn't you want to display all the talents that you've worked for, that you've sacrificed your life for, to show the world just how great you are?
Because it doesn't count against the record.
What the fuck?
That's one thing you can do. You can put it against the record. All right, you guys make a loss. The teams that lose get a loss on the record. The teams that win get a win on the record.
But that doesn't work though, because it's East-West. So it's all the same. Now, if you had mixed matched rosters, but now you can't do all that.
I'm saying every team in the East, they get a advantage of winning, having home court advantage on the West. I'm saying they one game. Everybody gets the one game. You get the one game loss. Now you have a better chance of getting the top record in the league.
Now, so you're not saying automatic home court in the finals, but you get
a better chance of getting home court.
You get a better chance. Okay. You know what, Danny?
Might be on to something.
Come up with a nice. You might be on to something.
They're not taking it serious. It doesn't go against their record. So what's the point? You can't make value All-Star weekend wide. It doesn't count for anything. It's like valuing preseason. These stats don't count toward anything. These wins don't count toward anything. So why would I value it?
But you're saying, okay, how about this? So you're saying it's almost like a tiebreaker when you get to the finals.
I guess.
If they have even records going into the finals,
gives you that half a game.
That. Okay. You know what? We might be on to something. I might not get enough players playing hard, but it might get some.
End of the day, All-Star Weekend is washed, man. It ain't the same. I don't know if it'll be fixed or get back to it. All the ideas we have and throw out there, I don't think it fixes it, man. So, but we'll see. I would love to see some of these young guys do better in the dunk contest and the game get back to where it was, where the fans love to watch these guys compete against each other.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we spent a lot longer on that than we're supposed to. Let's be real quick here on Klay Thompson. Now coming off the bench, apparently, for the Golden State Warriors. I think this could be a good thing. I know there's a lot of positive momentum with the Golden State Warriors as a whole right now, even though they're in a play-in spot. What are your thoughts on the things happening with the Golden State Warriors?
They have been winning. It could be a good thing. I mean, anything could always be good. It could also be bad. I could see a disgruntled star happening if things don't continue to shift in his favor. He played a great game 1 off the bench. Game 2, not so much. CP coming back may help him and may facilitate more shots for him and controlling the ball handling and tempo off that second group. Them two in the second unit is a tough for second unit teams to match up against. But all in all, I think he wants to start. He wants to play. And I think he's going to try to earn that right, because also said they're a good team, but they're not a great team. They're already losing. So when you're sitting your guy, your star on a team that's not a winning team, they've been winning lately. It hits the pride a little bit differently. And the guys that you're playing in front of him aren't. I get Steph Curry starting. I get Draymond Green starting. I get Kuminga starting. Those other two positions are really up in the air. It could be anybody. So it could be Klay, Podziemski. It could be Wiggins, because those other guys aren't playing that much better than Klay. Some nights they are, some nights they aren't. It could be, vary. So, but if Klay picks his game up, he's going to want to start, regardless of how well it happens off the bench. Contract year, he wants to get paid. He's seen Draymond get paid last summer. He's going to want to do the same.
Yeah, that's just how it goes. It's an interesting dynamic when you start to consider guys who come off the bench for the betterment of the team, or some guys might see it as a demotion. We don't have to spend a lot of time on Jordan Poole going to the bench. Your legacy is definitely not what you think it is, my friend. With that being said, You played for the Spurs, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and you famously started in front of Manu Ginobili, which is, we all considered Manu Ginobili one of the
By
best players
Manu's
of all
choice,
time.
yeah. By Pop's
Yeah,
choice and Manu's choice. It
yeah,
wasn't like I was better than Manu. It was better for our team and better for Manu to come off the bench. He had just had, I mean, he was getting older and he had a couple hamstring injuries, and it was better for him. We started off minute restriction that way, and for him to finish the games, it was better for him to come off the bench.
yeah. I mean, I guess the strategy as a coach sometimes too, I guess, could be like we would rather be if we could put Manu out there to start the game, but we don't want to have this high peak to begin a game and then dissipate because
Yeah.
we don't have
Also,
a
it let
sustained level of greatness on the court
for
at
sure.
once.
It also split up the talent. Like you got to think about like Malik Monk. You could start him with De'Aaron Fox, but why would you? You want to have him have his own time at times, and De'Aaron have his own time at times. So they kind of, and then they'll share the floor sometimes. But for them to get in the rhythm and to get in a flow, they have the court to themselves where they're the primary ball handler on the court. So when Tony was out, Manu would come in and he would also be a primary. They could they could share the floor the same, but Tony would be the primary ball handler and get his stuff off and in the paint and be able to do more pick and rolls. And then Manu would come in and then he would, work. And then eventually they would be on the court at the same times. But they had their time at some point. They didn't share the floor the whole game, to where, they had to split time. And that's why it's so impressive to see what the Clippers are doing.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Clippers at a
But
later
Russ had to
date.
go to bench for that. Russ had to go to bench and Russ and
Exactly.
Norm with the bench. So that made sense. So they can balance out who's on the ball, who's not on the ball.
Yeah. You can't have as dynamic as Norman Powell could be, or
You
as
can't have Russ and Norm and James and Kawhi and PG. Like you can't have all those guys. There's only one basketball. They got to share the time in some way, shape, or form. Got to split time with the pick and roll situation.
For sure. All right, when we come back, we won't talk about the Clippers, but we'll talk about another team that is highly ranked in the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the MVP race. Be right back after the break. What's good? We're back with more Inside the Green Room. Harrison Sanford, Danny Green. You guys already know the vibes. Let's talk about the MVP races. All the chatter now with roughly 30 games or so left in the NBA season. The race is definitely going to heat up. We've heard some rumblings and some real campaigning for Jayson Tatum to get into the mix. Nikola Jokic is obviously in the mix, and right now the betting favorite. You have guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic who are also up for nomination. There was a quiet storm building for Kawhi Leonard, but that's kind of tapered down. And obviously Joel Embiid is out of the race because he will not meet the game requirement. I already know who I'm voting for. I'll let you go first, though, Danny.
SGA, man. Shai has been killing, bro. To have a team that didn't make the playoffs to possibly be in the #1 seed in the NBA or in the West is unbelievable. And you got to take that into account. I don't care how young he is or how young that group is. But to lead a team like that, to be in the top in the Western Conference, which nobody could predict it last year, beginning of this year, 5 years, nobody's seen this coming. So you have to give him, some credit and give, where credit is due. Give him his flowers now.
I totally understand that. I do believe the Oklahoma City Thunder deserve an award at the end of the year. I think that should be Coach of the Year for Mark Dagnall. He's done a great job with that young team to be able to facilitate an offense and a defense that is really impactful on both sides of the court. I think he should easily win Coach of the Year. But when it comes to MVP, Danny, I'm going with Luka Doncic. He leads the NBA. Well, so for me, when it comes to MVP, I take it literally. Who is the most valuable player to their team? And there is no argument for any other player in the NBA that they're more valuable than Luka Doncic. If I wanted to judge valuability to a team, I judge it by how many minutes you play. Luka Doncic leads the NBA in minutes played. I would judge it by your usage rate. How often are you being used when you're out there on the court? Luka Doncic leads the NBA in usage rate. Well, then you could also go to stats. Who leads the NBA in scoring per game? Luka Doncic. And let's keep it a buck. As great as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, and he's great, who's the better basketball player? Luka Doncic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? The answer is pretty easy to me. Luka Doncic. So Luka Doncic is the most valuable player in the NBA. And I don't really understand why there really has to be a debate about it. The stats are pretty clear.
Yeah, but that's why winning has to come into play. Because
Well,
if
they're a
there's a
top six
lot of
team in a ridiculously hard conference.
right now they're top six. They could end up in the playing game, for all we
Okay.
know.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What seed? So do you agree with my estimation that Luka Doncic is better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
He's, I mean,
As a one to one.
as an overall player, yes. Right now, yes,
Oh, of course. Okay. All right. And I already said he's leading the NBA in minutes, leading the NBA in usage, and he's leading the NBA in scoring per game. That screams valuability.
for sure.
Does it
But
not?
if you're not in the playoffs, then how valuable are you?
Okay. All right. So So
Or if you're at the bottom, you have to be a top 4 seed to me. You have to be a top 4 seed.
Okay.
Then we take away some MVPs from Kobe Bean Bryant. We took MVPs away from Kobe Bean Bryant, right? Because of where he sat in the West.
For sure.
Correct?
I totally understand this. I understand the sentiment. You have to have a certain level of winning. Totally understand. But what seed does he have to? He has everything else. So what seed does he have to get? Just top 4. So if he's a top 4 seed and OKC is the number 1 seed, you're still giving it. Who are you giving it to?
If his numbers are where they are and he's at the 3 or 4 seed at the end of this year, I would give it to him
over Shai.
I think Shai is my MVP. OKC's number 1.
Sure.
Winning has to do.
They're number 2. Minnesota's number 1.
If they're number 1, it's a tough argument between him and Luka. If Luka's gonna have to climb the charts to get to 3 to make it like, all right, if he's 4 and Shai is 1, I'm going with Shai. You know, Shai is killing, man. Shai is doing it, and OKC is rolling. So it's like winning matters. Winning plays a big part to me when it comes to that. And obviously, the most valuable player is not always the best team, because you argue, Giannis or Joel, Jokic, they have a really good team. Can't penalize him with a really good team, but he's built his team up around him. And maybe his usage rate is not as high because they beat teams a little bit better than Luka does. Luka's record, they lose most games or in closer games, so he has to play more minutes, and his usage rate is a lot higher. So yeah, a lot of those things. That's not
Luka's fault.
I'm just saying, if you use Jokic as much, his numbers might be crazier if they were in closer games.
You're totally right. Totally right. So, you're totally right. You're totally right for that. I mean, obviously, the way you judge MVP is obviously up to every individual voter, and that's what could make it so complex. But for me, I like the idea of taking a guy who's probably the best. Well, Jokic is the best player, but it's tough. But as his stats stand, he is literally the most valuable player if I went by the stats. But yes, you have to qualify winning into the equation. With that being said, let's talk about a team that has been struggling to win. The Milwaukee Bucks, 3-7 since Doc Rivers has become the coach. And while their defense has gotten better, their offense has continued to struggle here as they went into the All-Star break. We'll see how they play coming out of the All-Star break, but the offense has really hit some bad moves here recently. What are your thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks? As a matter of fact, don't even give me give me your thoughts, but more, let's start it with this. Give me your bold prediction for the Milwaukee Bucks second half of the season.
I think they do fairly decently. They're going to, the only way is up.
No.
I don't want to say the only way is up. It's not the only way is up because...
We're not letting this slide. I'm not letting this slide. Your bold prediction for the Milwaukee Bucks. Your prediction. No, your bold.
I'm giving you
prediction.
both. I'm saying they're going to do better than what they have been in their first 10 games, which is not saying a lot. I still think they're going to be at 500. They're probably going to be 500 for the rest of the season, which will probably let them be at 4. They'll probably be at 4, maybe 5 seed. Probably they could possibly get to 3, but I see them as a 4 or 5 seed, winning the first round and probably losing the second round, honestly.
Okay. Well, 5 saying they're going to be a 500 team for the rest of the season is kind of a bold prediction because they're not supposed to be a 500 team for the span of 30 games. With that being said, they do. Yeah. With that being said, they do have a top 3 toughest strength of schedule for the remainder of the season. So that's going to be a big time factor. Conversely, we're not going to talk about them too much, but the Minnesota Timberwolves have 7 straight home games before they finish out the rest of this, as they start the second half of the season. And then they have 10 more home games, 10 more road games after that. So they have a chance to really push themselves ahead of the pack in the Western Conference. But going back to the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm with you, Danny. The whatever issues they had defensively, obviously the roster is the roster. They can't do nothing about it. Yes, you could try and work with some other schemes, but at the end of the day, they're not going to be where they were last year with no Drew Holiday and really not a premier perimeter defender. The offense, the offense has gotten worse and the defense got better, and I think that's just because they changed the pace under Doc. I don't think, or changed their structure under Doc, but I don't think it's going to be really anything that really matters. At the end of the day, I just don't think they have enough. And I don't think Giannis is that skilled enough, honestly, for them to
You don't
break
think
through.
they have enough, and then with the group they have, not this year, but maybe if they had a year to adjust, they still don't have enough unless they make changes.
Oh no, maybe next year. Maybe next year. And I'm not saying Giannis is not a great player. He is. But I just think he's not good enough as a closer, which makes you rely on Dame Lillard. And Dame has not looked like Dame all season long. And they don't have a perimeter defender.
This year's not enough. No. But I'm saying, even if they had the same group for next year, do you think it's enough? No.
No.
So they need a perimeter defender.
Who's going to guard Tatum and Brown? Who's going to guard Brunson? Who's going to guard Maxey? Who's going to guard Tyrese Halliburton?
For sure. They do need some more wings. They do need 3-and-D guys. They did recently, I think they signed Gallo. I mean, he's not a defender, but he can help the scoring. He's a bigger body. I don't know if they're ever going to use him.
They're not guarding nobody, bro.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're going to get chewed up by every team in the Eastern Conference, which I think is going to, I know everybody talks about the West, then the Eastern Conference is going to be fascinating because I think any team could come out of the first round and any team could lose in the first round, maybe outside of the Celtics. But there's so much dynamic guard power in the East. Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, mess around and get a high seed, and all of a sudden you playing against Trae Young, and Trae Young starts dicing them up in the pick and roll game.
Tyrese Halliburton.
So like,
and Indiana's had their numbers for most of the year.
There's some guards in the East that will mix them up, and all you need is 1 to 2 solid paint presences so that Giannis doesn't average 40 for the series, and all of a sudden you got yourself a little competition.
It's gonna be interesting, bro. It's gonna be interesting.
Boy. And let's say this. If the Milwaukee Bucks fall short of expectation, which I still think for the most part that everybody expects them to be in the Eastern Conference Finals and lose a competitive series to the Boston Celtics at the least, that is the bare minimum of where they're supposed to go. If they don't even get to that part, Danny, there's going to be a lot of people under fire. Obviously, Damian Lillard, for everything that's kind of happened, but maybe Giannis will get some heat because but Mike Budenholzer is no longer the coach, and the Adrian Griffin's no longer the coach. But he's won the championship already, and he's been a Finals MVP and a league MVP. So he might get a little heat, but they might let him go. One person, for sure, without a shadow of the doubt, who's going to get the flames, all the Twitter attention, is one Doc Rivers.
Yeah, but what can you do? We know that's going to happen, but you can't fire him. You just hired him. Get all the fire he wants, but he ain't going nowhere. Still on cash. Yeah, check is still on cash. He ain't going nowhere. You get all the fire he wants on social media. He ain't getting no fire in his organization because he's staying hired.
Yeah. Obviously, if you guys haven't been under a rock, you still gravitate to any NBA news that was happening during the All-Star break. There was this whole big controversy because Doc Rivers has somehow made a habit recently doing some interviews where he's kind of indicated the reasons for why his teams might have failed. And he also pointed out that he was a believer in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and told Kawhi that maybe we don't need to do all of these things leading to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being traded away in the Paul George deal. He's had a lot of quotes, and the internet has strike back, particularly after JJ Redick made a comment about Doc Rivers, basically saying he's tired of Doc Rivers making all the excuses and never holding himself accountable, which led to a clapback from his son, Doc Rivers' son, Austin Rivers, on NBA Today, basically saying that, like, I can't believe you're doing this. Like, my pops helped make your career. Patrick Beverly chimed in, basically saying that JJ Redick's career was made by Doc Rivers and that he should have sat JJ Redick in the playoffs against James Harden because James Harden was frying him, and then JJ Redick clapped back with the actual stats and analytics from that series, which showed that JJ Redick actually did do a good job guarding James Harden. It's been a lot going on. With that being said, your thoughts on one Doc Rivers and all of the controversy surrounding him and his excuse making.
I mean, it comes with the
Those who are
territory.
just listening, I did a quote unquote.
There you go. Yeah, for those who
Excuse
can't
me.
see. But even that comes with the territory. You know what's going to happen. When you come into a team midseason, which he said, and when you're Doc Rivers, who's been on multiple teams and they've been fired for different reasons, it's going to come with the territory. People are looking for reasons. So why are you hiring this guy? Why is he continuing getting jobs? They're going to come up with in the archives of the accountability statements of which he supposedly lacked thereof in the past. So yeah, I'm sure he knows it was coming. Everybody else around him knew it was coming. So they have to win games, or unless they're going to continue to happen. But for him, he's not bothered by it. He don't care. So he's got there with midseason with the expectation of not really much of an expectation because they signed him for 4 years. He knows that they could fire him, but that would be silly to do. But he has some time. That's the only thing he knows that's on his side right now. For him to get that extension for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, he has time to kind of turn it around. So he's not under the pressure that everybody thinks he is, and he knows it. So, but the organization, I'm sure, is new for Milwaukee. I'm sure it's new for the city of Milwaukee. But that's what comes with when you fire a coach mid-season, and you have not many other options to hire somebody else.
But I mean, okay. So I understand that some of his quotes, obviously, the internet had some fun with it, and that's what the internet does.
Mm-hmm.
But Doc, throughout the course of his career, and this is where he should just know better. The way you say things are going to be taken the way the media wants to, whether you like it or not.
Taken out of context. And the context they want it to be put in.
Yeah, and this by now. This is not nothing new. This is not your first rodeo. He made I understand the heat of the moment, but he should have known that when he made the comments about Ben Simmons, basically saying when he was asked, is Ben Simmons the point guard of the future? Doc Rivers did what he say? I don't know. As opposed to saying, yes, we still believe in Ben Simmons. Do you understand? That's putting the blame on Ben Simmons, and that very well might be true. But what you did with that quote was put the blame on Ben Simmons. And maybe you didn't mean to do that, but you did it. You should know better. So when you're in the media talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, I told the front office not to hire me while y'all doing this until after the All-Star break. What you think we're going to say? Come on, bro.
Hey, man.
Nah, come on. He's at
you know how this is,
don't
man.
know
You know
better.
how this. True, but older gentlemen, older people, man, they're new to the social media. They're new to the era.
No.
Mind you, they don't care to change. They are who they are, and they're unapologetic about it. He don't give a damn. He's not bothered. He is who he is. He's been successful at it time and time again. Maybe not in our eyes or the fans' eyes of success in terms of winning championships. He's won one. He's been continuing getting he's been coaching for over 20 years. And he's been coaching some really good teams. So he'll get another crack at it. So in his mind, he's been very successful at it. So why would he need to change it? He ain't bothered.
I understand he's not. No.
You don't need to change.
Matter of fact, I'm calling cap on that because he is bothered. He is bothered because he's tagged times before where he's going to the media and basically told them, why y'all hating on me? Remember when he was in Philadelphia, he said, why don't y'all treat me like Greg Popovich? Because you're not Greg Popovich.
He didn't get the same respect.
Greg Popovich doesn't lose 3-1 leads. So
if you have 5 championships to show for, then you get a little bit more leeway and respect.
You got one chip, dog, with a great team.
Yeah. So either way,
stop it.
He's been successful at what he's been doing.
He has been. And he should know better. That's the thing.
He does not. I think he may say something, but realistically, at this point in his career, he's unbothered. He said he's got signed another 3-year extension.
But that's the thing, Danny. He's not unbothered, bro, because he doesn't act unbothered because he continues to bring up reasons why things haven't happened for his teams, and he's not well aware of knowing.
I think
if you point the finger, it's going to look like you're blaming other people, which is unbothered behavior.
But I think he only speaks on
my bad. Which is bothered behavior.
He only speaks on it when people ask him the questions about it. It's like
yes, for sure.
he's not going to Twitter. He's not clapping back. He's not going on media outlets and doing interviews and talking about JJ or what Pat said or Austin said he lets those things play out. When people ask him about it in his press conference, he'll then say something. But he's like, why are you even asking me? Like, why are you even bothering me with these questions? Would you bother Pop with those questions? You wouldn't. So why do I get the short end of the stick? I should get the same respect you give these other coaches respect. Not even now, media and reporters, they don't have any lines or boundaries or care anymore. They'll ask Pops these questions now too. Obviously, Pop is getting annoyed with the questions. So as today's era, this is today's media.
I've ranted enough. I've ranted enough.
Doc lives for another day, bro. You keep ranting. You're just like everybody else. Guys got a lot of lives. Every media outlet, every podcast, some of his players. I talked with Lou Will today. He's a guy, either love him or you hate him. There's no in between or gray area for Doc. And those that love him will speak Cali. The other ones that hate him, they're gonna rant like you, and then he's gonna still do what he does, and he continues to live another day.
He's still gonna coach them games. Still gonna collect them checks.
He's gonna be in Milwaukee tomorrow. He's still gonna be there.
Hey, listen. I'm not hating on them. I wish them the best of luck. I hope we see the best versions of themselves as the playoffs get closer. And if we don't, they're gonna be up out of there because the East does not look like it's playing around. I really hope Danny.
But everybody's rooting for Dame. People want to see Dame finish out his career the way he should. If he's gonna stay in Milwaukee, at least get one. Maybe not this year, but hopefully they have one more year after this. If they don't have it this year, next year is their last year making it happen with that group.
I've decided that I'm not. I've not. Dame seems like a great person, but I root for players that play defense. And I'm not saying he's not trying. He's just not a great defender. And I personally like great defenders. I want to reward people who play great defense, on top of scoring too. So like the guys the guys who do both, I want to see them win.
Okay. So you're rooting for who now? Who are you rooting for right now?
Well, I'm rooting. Well. Then outside of that, I'm also just Danny. I haven't been this excited about the Knicks. I don't think in my Knicks lifetime. Because even when they had Melo and Amari, there was still the Miami Big Three. So my optimism wasn't there. And then when the Ewing era, there was Michael Jordan. So my optimism, while I might have felt great about the team, I always knew here comes Jordan. Like it's not going to make a difference. This is the first time I'm looking at a very competitive.
There's no Big Three, no Michael Jordan. Okay.
And there's no Jordan out there. There's no LeBron out there. Why the hell couldn't the Knicks be in the finals?
That doesn't mean they're going to win, though. So being in the finals is your championship.
Listen, I just want to dance. I just want to be invited to the dance.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not
going
to take nobody
home.
Even
if they lose.
Let me get
it's a win for y'all. It's a championship. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So taking moral victories now. I'm with that. Okay.
Started something big in New York City, baby.
I hear that.
With that being said, we're gonna get up out of here. Did you know, Danny, that I had this Stanley Cup, right?
Those are popular now, right?
I went out. Yeah, I went on like a ski trip, and somebody's like, "Oh, you got a Stanley Cup? I can't believe you got one." I'm like,
big time. Yeah.
Like what? I'm like, I've had this for a year. I don't understand. I still don't know what all the hype's about.
I guess they've been selling out quick, man. I don't know why or what happened. I know there's one that we're getting them all over the place. Supposedly it's like a bunch of social media memes, TikToks, and all type of stuff. I guess the pink ones. I don't know, but yeah, they're a big deal, bro. Big deal.
I think they said that there was like a house fire or something like that in some place during
the only thing that survived was the Stanley Cup.
Only thing that survived was the Stanley Cup, and ever since then it's been booming.
Well, there you go.
I got this for like $20 at Target. Well, I don't understand what's going on.
A year ago now, I think yesterday's price ain't today's price, kid.
ain't today's price.
Going up.
Yeah, I gotta go to eBay and see how much I can move this thing for. I could get up off it. It's all right.
Or with that being said, read, rate, subscribe, review. Read, rate, subscribe, review. You know what I'm saying?
Try saying that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, rate and review. We'll be on a lot more during the week, so stay tuned. We'll be back with more Inside the Green Room next week.